if you like, was exposing teachers to new ideas, strategies, concepts, theories, which we would hope they would do. That was the purpose of it. And there was something different and new. They were experiencing variation between what they knew and what other possibilities were out there. And the whole time they were blending between that, or moving and shifting between that and their schools, because their everyday lived life is in the classroom. You know, I read something in my online class, I hear what so-and-so says, but I'm thinking about my context in my school and my kids and the curriculum that I'm dealing with. And so the teachers themselves it wasn't almost like two separate communities for them. It was I'm a teacher in a classroom and I'm learning this stuff, and it's how do I apply it to what I'm doing? Just one or two examples quickly. Susan was a secondary ICT teacher very early on. I'm just trying to what she's doing. She was introduced to social constructivism as a theory, as a learning theory. She had never heard the term before. She was a teacher who had been teaching for 30 years. So she was a very experienced head of department in a very large high school. And she had not heard about social constructivist teaching and pedagogies, you know, students constructing their own learning. She was very much, she said to me, a show and tell teacher. You know, this is how you do spreadsheets. This is how you write a formula, and teaching them in that style. And she was amazed when she stopped to think about how students learn and how she could be doing it differently. These are the sorts of things that she posted. People like me have been teaching for 30 years and haven't been exposed to anything except what we learned ourselves. And time again in interviews and examples and in her online posts, she talked about how that changed her approach to teaching. But there was just another example where she actually then talked about using the concept mapping and saying, this is a great tool, I've played with inspiration myself. My year 10s, so that's the second year of high school, will be doing web page design soon. I've had no idea how much knowledge they have in that area, so the beginning of a concept map sounds a great idea. So it wasn't just a theory she was hearing about, but she was actually thinking about a concept map would be a good way to introduce them to this way of learning, for me to find out what they already know and then to work together to move on. So there was a quick example. What I was saying is that teachers were blending these two experiences of online and their work. They were finding different ways of working to suit their own contexts. Some teachers would do a lot of work offline and prepare, and they'd go and have a quick read and then they'd go back and put stuff up, which was partly why those charts don't help us a great deal, because we don't know what everyone's individual working patterns were. Like they worked differently. Teachers were always thinking about their own classroom when they're in their online space. They said, I'm always thinking back and I'm always connecting and I'm always interpreting that in light of my own experiences, which is what we would expect them to be doing. They were practically taking the assignments, and all of the classroom, all of the assignments for the assessment were quite practical in nature with a theoretical underpinning. So they might do something, reflect on it, write it up in light of the theory. They brought illustrations from the classroom into the forums. You know, this is what I do in my classroom. Well, that really works well, but I found that doesn't. And they're always talking about how their students would use those examples. They shared stuff from their online learning back into the community, and they were very pragmatic about how much time, what they did in their online space, who they would connect with, who they would spend the most time talking to, and they would spend as much time as they needed or wanted to. So very much teachers were in control of the way they used their online learning. They also became brokers, which, if you remember back to the English term, how much of this was just for them versus how much flowed through into the rest of the school. Because as they were using things in their own classrooms, they were talking to people about what they were doing, and their colleagues were noticing what they were doing. The comment at the top was the very first week of Susan's online study. So this was her first semester. She'd never studied in the 30 years that she'd been a teacher. She comes in, she's never studied online, and she says, I can't believe how much discussion my reading has generated with colleagues and friends alike. And so she's talking about it with people. One of her colleagues talks about how aware she is of Susan's work and what she's doing. And she's saying, she wants me to put some of my work online and do it this way next year with my students. So Susan's enthusiasm is flowing through to one of her colleagues here. And another one of her colleagues is saying, I think, she's talking about their learning management system and saying the way Susan's using it is quite different to the way other people in the department or the school are using it. I can see that there's so much more that I could be doing. And so much so that she went on and she talked about the difference between a learning management system for learning versus a learning management system which was just a content repository. Another colleague, another one of my teachers' colleagues, just talked again about how much she had noticed Linda's study had impacted on her own classroom, and the fact that she's always sharing things. She's always saying, oh, have you read this, or have you seen this, or have you tried this, or whatever. So teachers talk and that filters out. And noticing what her students are doing as well. I think I might skip over that bit about cognition. Just sort of in pulling those threads together, because what I was seeing is that teachers might have very brief encounters. They might have very not rate or not sort of connect into the online community really strongly, and yet it was still being valuable. It was still valuable for them. So we think sometimes that we should do more in the online space. That we should maybe be using video connection, and we should expect them to be in there doing more and talking to each other more and having a lot more activity in that space. And yet in actual fact we could do far more technologically than what teachers are actually asking us for. They were quite happy with the level of interaction, if you like, and it was still valuable, even though it was just discussion forums and it was relatively low level stuff, or low level in terms of technology. We should be valuing learning that's really situated in and synchronised with teachers' practice. As much as possible, if we're designing online learning for teachers, it needs to be, and it's common sense, but it really is reinforced here. It needs to be related to what they're doing in their classrooms. Encourage the often invisible interactions that happen offline. And I think that was something that really came through to me, is how much these teachers talk to their colleagues. And if I'm designing an online class, can I think about ways to encourage that even more, so that they're actually having meaningful conversations with their departments and colleagues, and maybe bringing that back to the online space as well, so that you're actually building a much richer set of interactions. Promote the sharing of work and school-based examples within the online. Teachers do that anyway, but I think there's so much more power there between, or so much more potential between what we're doing already and what we could be doing in terms of bringing in classroom experiences to the online. And particularly when you think about cross-sector interactions. Keep on doing like critical reflection, focusing on links between theory and practice, and new and existing beliefs, attitudes and practices. And focus on authentic, flexible activities that accommodate different contexts. And I think that's something we try to do, but we can be even more imaginative in, is the way we design assessments so teachers can adapt them to whatever context they're in. So it's very much their context and what they're doing there. And the online is the catalyst for that, the support for that, and a place where they can share what's actually happening. So, in conclusion, really, I guess I just want to sum up with this statement that simultaneous membership of both communities, the online and the school, supports blended learning because it's the teachers that do the blending. They're the ones that actually take from those experiences and put it within it. We support them to do that in a way. And 15-week semester is not very long, but if teachers are studying over a period of, say, two years part-time, that is sustained and is a chance for them to implement those things in a way that becomes meaningful for their own schools and classrooms. And it actually does have repercussions beyond just the students in front of them, and often to the wider school community as well. So thank you for the invitation, the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon, and I really welcome your questions and comments. I'm just in the final stages of writing this up, and say things that you feedback or questions you ask may well be really helpful for me as well. So thank you.